Good morning and welcome. Happy Friday. Give yourself a round of applause. You've made it through another week. It's the Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group. For over 2 decades. We're working on decade number 3. That's how long we've been right here, coming to you, one of the longest running financial shows, really any show of any kind, if you think about it. In the world today, our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. We are sponsor-free, always have been. Nobody tells us what to say or what to do. What has allowed us to do this for so long is when you do business with us, it's just that simple. If you love this program, even if you like this program, even if maybe you don't like it, but that's why you like it, because you don't like what I say, do business with us, and we'll keep on doing it. Again, 800-951-0592. That is our toll-free number. Of course, the website is the best in the business, because you know what? We don't just, you can buy products online. There we have the shopping cart, that's the new way of doing things. It's not a big one, but we have it out there with all the key items out there. But we educate you in the process, and that's really what the website is mainly for. All the articles and the videos and really keeping you. I call it the other side of things, the side that now that we live in. Let's face it, a world that is controlled by very few. Especially when you think about media platforms. Whether it's radio, one of the great things about KHNC up in Colorado, you can't find stations like that, and they don't exist anymore. They've been all gobbled up. But Phoenix, Salem, they're fortunate enough. At least they're one of the few big ones that allow for several smaller independents to exist. And this is where we've been. This has been our home here in Phoenix since I want to say 05 or 06, something like that. We've been on KXXT right here, 1010 in Phoenix since then. We've been on in Colorado since the 90s. That's how long we go back there. And we appreciate all of you out there who have done business with us throughout the years. All of you new people out there, if you've never done business with us, we're not like anybody else. And what I mean by that is we don't have a bunch of telemarketers out there calling people day and night and doing all those things. We don't bait and switch. We don't play games. We don't do any of that stuff. When we run specials on the air, we run them because they're the best prices we have on items, and those are the items we want you to buy. Because why? Because I want you to do well. When we really tried to keep it as simple as possible, and that's the reason why when you look at the thousands and thousands and thousands, I don't even know how tens of thousands of customers, and the amount of customers that have done multiple, 2 decades worth of business with us, 10 years worth of business with us, the fact that they've ordered and reordered again and again and again, that they've told their friends, this is how we've been able to grow this great company. Think about it. We've opened up a second office now in Colorado. We've got a second show up there as well, trying to continue to be the most outstanding gold and silver company that we can possibly be. And a big shout-out to everybody. You know what? It's going to get hot as you know what here in the Valley. So I heard 110. Not liking it. But here's the great part. The golf courses are going to be empty. So if you can tolerate it, it's going to be cheap golf for everyone. It's now my season to golf, right? The prices have gone all the way down to bare bones. And the only problem is it's the Heat Stroke Open. We're actually going to play this afternoon, so I'm kind of excited about that. I know you don't care about that, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We had jobs out today. What else did we have out today? We had gold and silver sales out today, and neither one of them really a big surprise. Deutsche Bank, the bad news continues. They got downgraded 3 notches today. Of course, a little too late. I don't know. Did you see this thing about the UFOs? Apparently they're here, and they were tracking one of our aircraft carriers for days. They said it looked like a giant Tic Tac. I wonder if it made their breath taste better. I don't know. I like Tic Tacs. But, yeah, that was – I saw it. I think it was on Drudge or something like that. I'm like, wow, maybe we should stop worrying about other stuff and wonder what the heck these people are doing. But nonetheless, a lot of ground to cover. Here's what I will tell you. They promised us a lot of jobs. Have they delivered? How many jobs have been created since the tax cut? How does it compare to the job markets that came before it? We'll break all of that down. We're going to talk a little Federal Reserve. We got a Fed meeting coming, so we're in the countdown clock now of the bottom for gold, and it may be here already. I think actually the bottom was the 1280 from a couple of weeks ago, but I think we're here. We'll talk a little bit about that, and then I've got a special that even I did not believe, but it's true. It's the best one we've run in quite some time on gold. I'm happy to have it. We'll talk about that as well. And then we're going to talk about Italy a little bit. I know you're like, what's happening there? I'm going to let you know their yield spiked again today. I'll tell you why it did that. And I don't know what else. We'll see. You never know what I'm going to say. Patriot Radio News Hour. Happy Friday. We'll be right back. Patriot Radio News Hour, 800-951-0592. Before we get into the heart of things, so I got to get to it because it's just a great opportunity in the $20 gold market. I don't know why. I don't care why. I got a call this morning from they're the largest wholesaler in the world. They're the ones when I'm selling most of the old gold that we run on special, it's coming from them. They called me this morning and said, "Hey, we know that you normally don't sell these, but you've been doing more business in this arena lately. We've got a massive buy that we have made, and we want to offer you a huge discount. It's both on $20 Liberties and $20 Saints, which you go out to our website this morning, I got $20 Liberties on sale. I've had them on sale all week, $13.85 all week. I ran XFs the other day, right? Almost one grade below AU. I ran those, but if you bought them in quantity, right, you got down to, I forget what the number was, I apologize, $13.70, $13.60. Today, I actually have the AUs. Both Liberties. The Liberties are the older ones, right? Those are going to be 1866 to 1907. And then, of course, the Saints. Those were from, 07 up through gold confiscation in 1933. I got a few more libs than I do Saints, but I've got good quantities of both. $13.55. That's right, $13.55. If you buy 10 or more, and you can mix them up. So if you want 5 libs and 5 Saints, or you want all Saints, or you want all libs, it doesn't matter. If you buy 10 or more, $13.50. Gold right now, gold's down like $3 right now at $1,297, and we'll talk about why that is. But you're talking about $58 to $53 over spot on AU quality. It's a great opportunity. This is what I want you to buy. If you've never bought from us and you call the number right now and you're buying, 100-year-old plus gold, AU condition means it's almost uncirculated. These things are going to be just really great-looking material, and you call the number and you just need to say, "I'd like the special." That's all you have to say. Hey, I heard the special. I'd like the special. Now, today, we're going to ask you two questions. Normally, we only ask you one, which is, how many would you like? Today, we're going to have to ask you two, right? How many would you like? And then, which ones do you like, right? What, do you want libs? Do you want saints? Do you want a mix, right? So we're only going to, that's it. The only two things we'll ask today. Normally, we only ask one. How many? Right? That's it. There's no bait and switch. No, it's so simple. And whether you want to, if you're here in Phoenix, you want to pick it up, there's no shipping. If you're in Colorado and you want to pick it up at the radio station up in Johnstown, no shipping. We lock everything in right over the phone. So when you call and place an order, and I apologize for the people that already know this, but when you call and place an order, we give you a trade number, and that locks us in. Gold can go up $100 on Monday. You're not paying any more. Conversely, go down $100. You're not paying any less either. We're locked in. Once we have good funds, we ship it to you, registered, insured, U.S. mail, or you pick it up in one of our two office locations. It's just that simple. 800-951-0592. I'm going to go to the email bag. By the way, I love it. Email me. Send me your stuff. I promise I will get to it. But I had an email from Rick and another one from Glenn, and I just wanted to share them with you. One of them, this one was from Rick, talking about the food stamp program, and we're going to get to the jobs in a minute. But we know, listen, there's 40-some-odd million people in the food stamp program. I'll tell you, too, the amount of food bank activity, it's incredible. Phoenix here, they need so much food. They need so many volunteers. My mom volunteers every week at the food bank in Syracuse. If you have the means or you have the time, volunteer there. You'll see what I'm talking. I think it's a great way for you to do it. My youngest son, who's going to be technically now a sophomore in high school, is spending the entire summer volunteering. And so far, all this week, he's been going to food banks. And stuff like Salvation Army, Chiquino por la Casas, and all these other foundations, and he's serving food because we think it's important. But the Department of Agriculture is proud to be distributing the greatest amount of meals and food stamps ever. Meanwhile, the National Park Service, administered by the U.S. Department of the Interior, ask us to please do not feed the animals, right? You go to the zoo, zoo's probably bad, but you go to these national parks, right? Don't feed the bears, right? Don't feed the wildlife. And the reason they stated is animals will grow dependent on handouts and will not learn to take care of themselves. Interesting point. You think about the food stamp program, which that was under Johnson, the Johnson administration. Less than 2 million people were on it. Right now, the country only had a couple 100 million people then. Now we've added, a little over 100 million more people, but now we're a lot closer to 50 million than we are to. Right, so it's grown incredibly, and I appreciate that. I thought that was good logic. And the next one, this was, and this kind of really goes into what I've been talking about with inflation and this lie that the central banks have put on all of us. This was from Glenn, and I've spent a lot of time talking to Glenn. John Maynard Keynes. You guys may have heard of this guy. This is the guy that all of the, and I'm going to say all, and there may be one that isn't, but almost all of the central bankers today believe in this guy, right? Why? What made this guy so much better than everybody else that they did? You can be the guy. I'll tell you why, right? Because they're like, hey, we can maximize the most. We can make a lot more money if we convince everybody that this guy is the guy that people should be listening to. In his book, Men Will Not Always Die Quietly, okay? They declared the best way to destroy the capitalist system was to debunk the currency by continuing the process of inflation. So you think about, here's the guy, the father of modern economics, talking about inflation. Governments can confiscate secretly and unobserved an important part of wealth of their citizens. Think about what I've been talking about just in the last week. How much, and I'm just using me, my own personal life. How much more money a month I've got to come up with. And that I've got to be insulted. And I'm going to be insulted June 12th and 13th. Get ready to be insulted again as they tell us that inflation's okay. It is nothing more than the confiscation of your wealth, period, plain and simple. Why don't they call it what it really is? Devaluation. Devaluation, and really, I guess I like this version better. It's confiscation. They don't want the average American to actually save any money. That's their goal. That's their objective. Always has been, always will be. They love for you to be in debt. They don't want you to have any money. That's why they devalue it. Think about it. Right? As far as an economic theory goes, this is the brain trust. Right? We're going to punish you for living within your means. Does that sound like a society that's going to be able to thrive? And remember, with this little experiment hasn't been going on that long. People say, well, America's been the greatest country in the last 250 years. That's not quite that long, but I don't disagree. For most of it, we didn't have a central bank. For most of it, the currency was gold and silver. Inflation did not exist. Matter of fact, the only time we had inflation was war. And as soon as the war was ended, bam, inflation was gone. And it stayed gone. You could put your money in the bank. You could put your money under the mattress. And guess what? When you woke up the next day, the next month, the next year, the next decade, it bought the exact same thing. Think about that. Right? You think about, go back to when we went off this gold standard. We've only been on this little mission here since 1971. Gold was $35. But let's round it up because 35. Let's call it $40. 220s. Okay, 220s or one of these gold pieces that we've got on sale today. $13.50 AU $20 libs and safes. $1,355. You buy 10 or more, $13.50. They're $40. 1971. Just imagine if you put $40 under the mattress, or you put $40 into your bank. Of course, you put $40 in the bank in 1971. By today, you wouldn't have any, right? Because the fees, they just whack the snot out of you. Just open an account. You got less than $5, $10, $15, $20,000 in it. They just smack the crap out of you with fees. But let's just say you put it under your mattress. Today, you go back in there and you pull out those two $20 bills. You're like, man, I don't even know if me and my wife can go out to. You definitely can't even go out to a nice dinner. But you're not paying a bill with $40. Of course, $40 in 1971, you would have that shopping cart at the supermarket packed. Today, you go to $40. You got a package of steaks and maybe a cheap bottle of wine. That's it. Or you pull out one of those gold pieces. Now what do you got? Yeah, you could go to you go to Whole Foods, get 3-4 shopping carts full of food. That's the difference. So in their book, they're talking about the destruction of wealth and taking it from the citizens. By this method, they not only confiscate, but they confiscate arbitrarily. And while the process impoverishes most, it actually enriches some. The sight of this arbitrary rearrangement of riches strikes not only at security, but of a confidence in the existing distribution of wealth. Those to whom the system brings windfalls beyond the deserts or even beyond their expectations or desires become the profiteers. I'll tell you what happens to everybody else when we return.
This is the Phyllis Schlafly Report, a daily commentary continuing the conservative pro-family legacy of Phyllis Schlafly. Now, the president of Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, Ed Martin.
College campuses are the battleground of the culture wars in America. Democratic professors and administrators outnumber Republicans by about 10 to 1. Free speech zones are getting smaller. Safe spaces are appearing everywhere. Free and open debate on campuses seems all but extinct. The leftist environment students are subjected to is very intimidating. Have you equipped the college students in your family with the moral and intellectual defenses and weapons to survive on the campus battlefield? Phyllis Schlafly Eagles would like to help students combat the intolerant dogmas of political correctness, diversity, and that's code word for gay rights, feminism, which claims that U.S. women are always oppressed, affirmative action, secularism, which is really anti-religion, and even multiculturalism, which means Western civilization is no better than any other civilization, and in fact America may be the worst. All college students are invited to attend the 25th annual Phyllis Schlafly Eagles Collegians Leadership Summit to be held in Washington, D.C. on July 10th, 11th, and 12th. This 3-day conference will equip college students for the campus battles and enable them to hold fast to their principles and morals despite the indoctrination with hate America propaganda. Phyllis Schlafly always called this her most important event. She knew our nation's survival depends upon training the next generation of conservatives to be ready to lead. Last year's Phyllis Schlafly Collegian Summit was a huge success, and students heard from expert authors, journalists, and activists. They went in-depth with members of Congress and members of the executive branch. Our students were also able to participate in tours and lectures beyond what the public can reach, inside facilities like the State Department and in the chambers of Congress. Most important, every day of the summit is an opportunity for these students to network and build relationships with other like-minded college students and share stories of how they become activists on their campuses and to encourage each other. It was inspiring last year to see how these courageous students equipped with facts could make a difference on their college campuses. Again, all college students are invited to attend the Phyllis Schlafly Collegians Leadership Summit in July in Washington, D.C.
Do you know a college student expressing frustration with their liberal ideology and anti-Christian propaganda on their campus? Encourage them to join Phyllis Schlafly Eagles and other conservative leaders in Washington, July 10 through 12, for the annual Phyllis Schlafly Collegian Summit. The conference is free to students who register at phyllisschlafly.com. That's phyllisschlafly.com. Thanks for listening, and join us again for the Phyllis Schlafly Report.
800-951-0592. We're quoting, men will not always die quietly. And, of course, what I'm reading is from Lenin, because they understood. Right? And we're talking about inflation and what it does and what it is and how it takes from most and enriches a few. The few that it enriches, of course, right? They, I don't know if they're hated or not. I will say this: the profiteers, as they call them, are hated from those whom inflation has impoverished. as the inflation proceeds. Now, this was documented, right, in the 30s, the 40s. As inflation proceeds, the real value of currencies will start fluctuating wildly from month to month. Right? Sound familiar? Right? Isn't that what we live in today now? Right? We don't care. We don't even look down the road anymore. All we care about is what's happening today. All permanent relations between debitors and creditors, which form the ultimate foundation of capitalism, become so utterly distorted as to be almost meaningless. Think about the debt market. Right? Like Japan's a great example. They don't even have them anymore. People don't even go. Right? But we're still pretending, though, right? We're going to still pretend the tools of the toolkit, and we can just create money out of thin air and buy this stuff up and say we fixed it. As this proceeds, the wealth getting degenerates into a gamble and a lottery. Right? Think about it now. The risk, the leverage, all of those things. And I will say this, I just bring it up because this has been well known. This isn't new. This is what they've done. We've been on this little experiment not very long. Before the experiment, the debt was $400 billion. We've been a country for 195 years. And by the way, just so you know, the last $100 billion of it came at the end of at the end of Lyndon Johnson's little term. Of that $400 billion, 250 of it was World War II, by the way, in case you were wondering. We now have a deficit that is approaching, $22 trillion? And somehow you think this is going to work out differently than what they wrote about back in the 30s and the 40s. It's not. This is what it does. This is what inflation is. It's a confiscation of your wealth, plain and simple. That's why we talk about, when we talk about gold, when we talk about wealth insurance. It keeps you whole. You have money in the bank that's sitting in the bank year after year, month after month, year after year, decade after decade. You're losing money. It's just that simple. And when you put it into hard assets, you preserve that wealth. Speaking of wealth, people are talking a lot about jobs, and is it good numbers, bad numbers, unemployment rates, and all of these things. Of course, we've been separating it all for everybody because we told you the formulas that they've created, these new formulas that they created, all in, is it by coincidence all of these new economic formulas came about in the 80s and the 90s to hide what it is that they were really doing? And now all of a sudden in today's society, the numbers make no sense. But today we had a jobs number. It wasn't too bad. It was 223,000 jobs created in May. And I said, you know what? I don't know if that's a good number or a bad number. Because, we got the summer hiring, right? All the lifeguards and the marinas, the hotels, the vacation stuff, right? They do most of their hiring then. So I did a little research. And I wanted to know, did the tax cuts help us create jobs or not? And it's still early, right? We're only 5 months into it. But for the first 5 months of 2018, at least so far, and obviously numbers get adjusted, but taking in today's number, we've created 1,047,000 jobs. Okay, 1,047,000. Now, again, I didn't know if that was a good or a bad number, so I went to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Right, this is, you can do your own research if you like, or take my word for it. I went back from 2013 to today, and I wanted to know, in the first 5 months of the year, how does that shake out? Here's what I found out. The jobs market recently is better than it was in 2016 or 2017, but not as good as it was in 2013, 2014, and 2015. So in 2017, this time, year to date, a year ago, we had created 862,000 jobs. In 2016, 803,000. But 2015, 2014, we created almost 1.2 million jobs. And then 2013 is the exact same number as today. 1,047,000 jobs created in the first 5 months of the year. So after the last 6 years, if you took all 6 years, this number is right in the middle. There was 2 numbers worse, 2 numbers better, and 1 is the exact same. I will say this, the 2 numbers that were worse, which was 2016 and 2017, they reported really big numbers in June. Both of them reported really small numbers in February. So we're a month away. I think after next month we can kind of tell if we can have a decent month of June. Then we can say, hey, yeah, the tax cuts did make the jobs market a little better. Unfortunately, not outstanding. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592. I've been telling you, been argued by me, that we're going to have a big second half in gold. And when you start looking at what's happening, right, it's easy to see. But you always have to follow the money, right? We talk about it all the time. This is out of, this was yesterday. This was reported by the Mint yesterday. Sales of American Gold Eagle coins increased by 433% in the month of May. You don't think people are paying attention? Remember, we talked about how all that silver kind of seemingly disappeared over the course of a week or two, and now here comes the gold side. It is the highest volume since 2015 as far as gold sales go in a single month. Geopolitical concerns, I don't know, they and I'm just reading what they said. The U.S. North Korean summit, I don't know how that played in, drove up the sales. I'm going to tell you what drives it up more than anything is when some really, really wealthy people who know a whole lot more than I do all of a sudden say now's the time. Of course, really, think about it. We had a nice pullback in May. We've got a Federal Reserve meeting here, in the next 10, 12 days. We're going to get a rate hike. But we're also going to start to hear talk of stopping the rate hikes. Because really underneath the great jobs number of today, there's a lot of softness starting to come out. And really the biggest part is us. And when you think about how they talked about inflation destroying the wealth, when you looked at the consumer spending numbers, and we've been seeing them now all year, and really it's been longer than, probably been the last 6 to 8 months. the savings rate is plummeting. And the vast majority of Americans now don't really have any savings, right? They continue to spend, and it's because the inflation, devaluation, confiscation, put the right words on it, because inflation, no one knows what that means. You know what confiscation means. You know what devaluation means. And this is what is happening. So now we get news that all of a sudden gold sales skyrocketed 400% in a month. Silver. We've been waiting on silver. Deliveries from the COMEX. So when you think about silver and we think about gold and you think spot price and what that means. Like when I tell you, as an example, right now, gold's $1,296.50, silver $16.47. What does that mean? How do we get that? That is the spot price. And spot price is determined by paper contracts. And these paper contracts represent X amount of ounces of gold and X amount of ounces of silver. And as an example, for gold, June, August, October, and December are delivery months. For silver, July, September, and December are the remaining delivery months for this year. So in other words, these contracts, they have an expiration date. Okay? So let's focus on silver. So silver's next delivery for silver paper contracts is in July. Most of the paper contracts being bought are being bought by speculators, right? They're buying them, and they're either buying them short or they're buying them long. In other words, they're trying to make money off the moving price of gold or silver. And obviously, the more people buying contracts long, the price goes up. Buying it short, the price goes down. That's and then you get this spot price. At the end of a delivery month, most of these people, the vast majority of these contracts get closed without delivery. In other words, they roll them. Okay, I don't want the silver, or I don't want the gold, right? I just want to make money off of trading it. But you have to always pay attention to those that are taking delivery. In other words, I want you to actually ship me the silver, or I want you to actually ship me the gold. And not surprisingly, the last delivery month, which was May, so May just ended in delivery for silver contracts. It's usually about the last week before the month ends is when delivery occurs. May was a delivery month for COMEX silver. The total amount of deliveries reached the highest levels since 2007. As you can see below, deliveries for the month of May reached 7,157 contracts. That is the highest 1 month total since December of 2007. And it represents delivery of nearly 36 million ounces of silver. And I bring this up because, like I said, you got to follow the money. U.S. Mint just said gold deliveries up 433% in May. COMEX said silver deliveries hit the highest single monthly total ever since 2007. You think they got an idea of where gold and silver are headed between now and the end of the year? Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. It is being reported out of Italian newspapers that Italy's parliament has proposed legislation to start looking at the cost of leaving the Eurozone. So just put that in your thought process as you start to get ready for the next move here. I've been saying it all year. We are going to have a big year in the gold and silver markets. Some awfully big money all of a sudden coming into this market, and really, it just makes sense. We haven't been in this experiment, for that long. And you start looking at the shenanigans that they pulled in the 80s and the 90s, right? You had silver, started at $40, went to $800, got it all the way down to $250. Remember when they were going to have the debt paid off, remember? And then, of course, they didn't. And we've had some hiccups, and gold went to $1,900, and then they bailed out all the banks. They doubled and tripled, really, the size of the debt and said we fixed it. And gold went from $1,900 down to $1,000, $1,050. Now it's on its way back. And I'm going to use the cost of college because my oldest son's getting ready to leave. Right now, it costs about $15, $20 gold pieces for $20,000 to go to college, right, for a year. You go, I don't even know if I can go to ASU for 20 close, right? So you would need, roughly 60 gold pieces to send your kid to a state-run school. 18 years from today, or 80 to 100 grand, probably more like 100. It's over 100, but let's just say he lived at home. You're just paying the tuition and the books, and your kid's living at home. 18 years from today, that cost to send that child to college is going to be, what, $300, $400, someplace $500,000. You think about 18 years ago when my son was born. The cost to go to school for 4 years was was what, $25,000? Now it's over $100,000, and where my kid's going to school. Now I'm not paying this, but people do. Not me, but people do. Is $250,000 for 4 years. This is why you put gold away. It's going to keep you whole. If you are fortunate enough today to buy, $60, $20 AU Liberties and Saints, when your grandson goes to college in 18 years, you could actually say to him, I gotcha. 800-951-0592. AU Libs and AU Saints, 1355. Buy 10 or more, 1350. Everybody take care. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk on Monday.